Podium, a winner at the Tour of the Alps a few weeks ago. This is the Giro d'Italia. This is the biggest stage of his career, and he's done it. Podium, the victor of stage 19. The third longest stage of the Giro d'Italia, and a monster to round things off on stage 20. The final day of GC action, Isaac Del Torro in the pink jersey, Richard Carapaz full of intent still to try and win the Giro d'Italia, with Simon Yates going into the race in third and Derek G in fourth place, the Canadian. The Maglia Ciclamino, Mads Pedersen looking to get on the offensive perhaps again, and Giulio Pellizzari perhaps to try and sniff out the opportunity for a stage win. Handshakes all round between the jersey wearers at the front of the race as they rolled out to get hostilities underway for the final time in the general classification race. The flag dropping, the attack starting, a 7-rider group chased by a 6-rider group with Mads Pedersen involved, and the attacks still coming thick and fast. It took a while for the race to settle down, and eventually an 18-rider group got clear to form a group of 31 riders eventually as the groups claimed together at the front of the race. Dries de Bont then took maximum points at the first of the intermediate sprints as they headed towards the first of the categorised climbs, the Cat 4 Choreo climb. And then Kasper Asgreen with EF Education Easy Post started to work on the front of the bunch, letting the gap grow out to nearly 9 minutes. Jacopo Moscar at the front of the race, one of 3 Little Trek riders, and Asgreen still setting the pace for EF Education Easy Post. The Colle delle went the way of a tussle between Jacopo Mosca and Manuele Tarozzi for maximum points at that climb, and Wout van Aert beat Dries de Bont at the second of the intermediate sprints to take the maximum 12 points. And then the race got closer and closer to the big showdown on the mighty Colle delle Finestre, the 18.5 kilometre climb with the 8 kilometres of gravel towards the top, where in 2018 Simon Yates had seen the Maglia Rosa go up in smoke as Chris Froome had attacked. At the front of the race, Chris Harper and Remy Rochas went clear as EF Education Easy Post raced towards the foot of the climb. Harper, meanwhile, attacking and going clear on his own. And Georg Steinhauser with Carapaz on his wheel, attacking almost instantly on the lower slopes of this long climb. Isaac Del Torro isolated, but able to bridge across to Carapaz. And Simon Yates, after hesitating for a while, bridging across to the other top riders on the podium of the general classification. Simon Yates then attacking once, twice, 3 times as Derek G got across to the group of favourites. And Simon Yates then attacked for a 4th and decisive time. This time there was no immediate reaction from Richard Carapaz, and the British climber started to ride clear. Derek G then joined up with Carapaz and Isaac Del Torro and started to set a pace that benefited Carapaz and Del Torro as they limited Simon Yates' gains. Chris Harper, in the meantime, was joined by Alessandro Verri at the front of the race. And shortly after that, Simon Yates hit the gravel sector as well, now in the virtual lead of the entire Giro d'Italia and still riding away from the group of contenders behind. Into the Red Bull kilometre then, Chris Harper was still at the head of affairs. Derek G still had Carapaz and Isaac Del Torro under pressure in the general classification, and seeing the virtual lead of the race go away from him as Simon Yates continued to skip away from the race. Carapaz with the Maglia Rosa on his wheel, edging towards the mighty top of the biggest climb of the entire Giro d'Italia. The Cima Coppi taken then by Chris Harper of Jaco Alula, and shortly after that Simon Yates went over the top of the climb, chased by Isaac Del Torro and Richard Carapaz. On the descent off the climb, Simon Yates picked up for the original breakaway his teammate Wout van Aert, who made a big difference on the valley road. Eventually Isaac Del Torro and Richard Carapaz conceded the chase, and Simon Yates already knew that he had victory in the Giro d'Italia even before Wout van Aert emptied himself and left the teammate and the team leader for the general classification, Simon Yates, all on his own, processing what he'd just done. One of the most famous in history, the stage winner on the Finestre climb in Sestriere. And now the emotion hits home. Chris Harper, the Australian, joins the select group of riders who have ridden to Queen Stage victories at the Giro. A brilliant moment for Chris Harper. And behind him, a former teammate, Jaco Alula last year, Visma Lease bike this year. 7 years since he last won a Grand Tour. And in 2018 it was the Vuelta. This year, in stunning circumstances, Simon Yates on stage 20, clawing the Maglia Rosa from the back of Isaac Del Torro. Richard Carapaz's threat also neutralised, the Briton coming to a halt in Sestriere, unable to process what he'd just achieved. A last gasp turnaround yet again at the Giro d'Italia, and Yates had done it. Isaac Del Torro finishing with the other group of favourites with a sprint and signing off in style, but a huge disappointment as the young, brilliant Mexican came unstuck on a dramatic stage 20, crossing the line just ahead of the other group of favourites. Giulio Pellizzari, his friend, on there to console him. Chris Harper, the victor, standing on the top step of the podium, the winner of stage 20, ahead of Alessandro Verri in second place and Simon Yates, the winner overall, in third. And Yates made his way to the podium in Sestriere to pull on the Maglia Rosa that he'd so keenly wanted in 2018 when Chris Froome had denied him. History then turned on its head 7 years later by Simon Yates, who kissed the jersey he'd longed for. To add to his Vuelta now, a win at the Giro in 2025 ahead of Isaac Del Torro and Richard Carapaz in third. Mads Pedersen once again on the offensive, his mighty lead in the Maglia Ciclamino unassailable, a big day for him tomorrow in Rome. And Lorenzo Fortunato will be showing off the blue jersey on the streets of the Italian capital again tomorrow. Yesterday he sealed the deal, mathematically impossible for anyone to catch him. And Isaac Del Torro will at least take the white jersey away from the 2025 edition of the Giro. And Chris Harper winning the Cima Coppi, the prize for the highest point on the Giro d'Italia.